Welcome back to Wild High Life. Today we are talking about the serious situation of being involved in a bear attack. It doesn't matter if the bear attack is your fault, the bear's fault, or some other fault. How will you be prepared for a bear attack? We are only going to focus on one criterion, and that is the muzzle energy potential of a variety of pistol calibers. We are going to compare semi-automatic pistols versus magnum class revolvers, specifically the 357 Magnum, 41 Magnum, and 44 Magnum. We won't be comparing the 45 Colt, 454 Casull, or Smith & Wesson 500 because there aren't any common semi-automatic pistols which have that kind of muzzle energy. Besides, those pistols have such a large recoil, blast, and ammo expense that they are not practical for the average user. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is up to the viewer to validate any opinions stated herein. This picture of a bear was provided to me by my friend Jim Tilton, and I'll tell the story behind it in a minute or two. For all those who don't want to have to listen to all the dry details of this video, I will skip to the chase and tell you the results up front. The pistol cartridges you buy at the local sporting goods store don't define the potential of the matching pistol caliber. Those of you who hand load your cartridges already know that changing the bullet weight and varying the type and amount of gunpowder you can drastically change the velocity of the bullet, which has a direct impact on the energy imparted by the bullet. The barrel length of your pistol also makes a huge difference in the bullet energy. A 4-inch barrel will roughly double the bullet energy of a 2-inch barrel. The bottom line is that certain semi-automatic pistols with 4-inch barrels will approximate the bullet energy of corresponding magnum revolver pistols. So, for the highest performing commercial ammunition listed in ballistics by the inch, both a 357 SIG semi-automatic pistol and a 357 Magnum revolver with a 4-inch barrel, they'll both top out at about 600 foot-pounds of bullet energy. For the highest performing commercial ammunition on ballistics by the inch, in either a 41 or 44 Magnum revolver with a 4-inch barrel will top out at about 800 foot-pounds of energy. The 10mm semi-automatic pistol will top out at about 720 pounds of energy. You have to have a 6-inch barrel with the 10mm to get to the 800 foot-pounds of energy. Now clearly, magnum revolvers can take ammo which is hand-loaded, which can top over 1,000 foot-pounds of energy. But the point is that if a person is considering a bear defense handgun with a 4-inch barrel, they will probably do better to choose the 357 SIG or 10mm semi-automatic pistol because of the much greater number of rounds, 15, available and the comfort of reduced loads for target practice. So here's a shocker. If you are shooting a magnum revolver for bear defense, but just bought the cheap ammo at the local store, you may not be getting anywhere near the energy out of that cartridge that you assume goes with that caliber. You might just want to check to see what the ammo you bought is capable of. Look up the formula for calculating muzzle energy based on bullet weight and bullet velocity. I have a friend who is a geologist, and he spends a lot of time in the mountain doing field work. Recently, he had 2 different encounters with bears. The first, he was lucky and the bear ran away. The second, the bear came after him and his partner, and they were lucky that they could escape to the nearby truck. Generally, people like to give bears the benefit of the doubt for their behavior. Somehow the human is always at fault for triggering the bear's behavior. However, if you look at the list of bear attacks in Wikipedia, and I'll post the link below, you will find that quite often the bear ate the human. Indeed, I have a friend whose uncle was camping in the Ben Marshall Wilderness in Montana. There were 4 in his group, and a bear attacked the camp, severely mauling one of the group, who later died, the man that is. One of the group went back to town and got help, people with guns and also a doctor to come up to the camp. The bear came back 2 more times. The second time, the now bigger group fired on the bear in the thick forest and drove it off. The third time the bear came, they were able to kill the bear. Now, for the story about this bear you see in this video, which attacked Jim Tilton while he was in his tent. The bear slapped Jim through the tent, and Jim got up and shot the bear. My point in providing this analysis of bear attack defense video is not to start an argument as to who started the fight between you and the bear. My point is, what do you do when you find yourself in this life or death situation? The first obvious response is to use bear spray. However, there have been cases where a charging bear's momentum carried it right through the bear spray cloud, and the bear was still able to attack with little ill effects from the bear spray. This leaves us with the age-old question of whether or not you should use deadly force to preserve your life. Again, the point of this video is not to start a big debate on the morality of using deadly force to preserve life. I'm just going to proceed on the point of how to be prepared in case you find yourself in this situation. There is a never-ending debate over which pistol caliber is the best. Clearly, this begs the question, best for what? Obviously, the answer to this question is going to be different for different people depending on their ability and their personal preference. I'm going to present some criteria which can help you find the answer to this question for yourself. The first criteria is that you have to be able to stop the bear from attacking you. Now, whether you use an effective pistol or an ineffective pistol, you have to accept the fact that you could cause the bear to die. The question is, will the pistol you choose save your life? If the pistol is of the type that will stop the bear before it gets to you, then you will live. If you choose an ineffective pistol, both you and the bear could die. So how do you stop the bear before it gets to you? There is a very important point to consider here. If you shoot the bear in a non-vital spot, the bear could be alive long enough to kill you before it is incapacitated. So to stop the bear, you have to hit the bear in a vital spot. Obviously, you have to be skilled enough with that pistol to be able to hit a charging bear in that vital spot. Secondly, you have to have a bullet powerful enough to penetrate through the bear's considerable bone, hide, and heavy muscle tissue. So in choosing the right pistol for you, it has to be a pistol with which you will practice shooting with until you're competent enough to hit the charging bear in a vital spot. What a tragedy if at the critical moment you shoot the bear in a non-vital spot, it kills you, then goes off to die a prolonged, agonizing death. It would be much better to cleanly kill the bear and save your life. We will come back to this point of shot placement later. Let's talk about choosing a pistol caliber which will stop the bear. Ideally, you would choose a pistol cartridge which penetrates cleanly to a vital organ, then expands perfectly to impart the whole energy of the bullet in a tremendous bear-stopping shock. Clearly, the large magnum class pistols can deliver a cartridge which can do exactly this. However, there are some potential challenges with the large magnum pistols which may or may not be an issue for you personally. Number 1. Magnum pistols have considerable recoil and blast which can cause a person to not train to shoot with them. 2. The ammunition is expensive, again, causing a person to not practice shooting often enough. 3. Magnum pistols are revolvers, limiting you to only 5 or 6 bullets in the gun. Number 4. In many states, unless you have what is called a concealed carry permit, you are limited in the amount of bullets you can have in your gun as you carry it. So for example, with a Magnum revolver which has a 5-bullet cylinder, you can only legally have 3 bullets in the gun while you carry it around in the woods. Obviously, if you have large, powerful hands and wrists, are dedicated to shooting your Magnum pistol until you can hit a charging bear in a vital spot, and have enough spare money to pay for all that ammo, and have a concealed carry permit, then a big Magnum pistol is the right choice for you. Or if you have the skill and time to hand load your bullets, this reduces the cost of the ammunition, allows you to develop light loads so that the recoil and blast is reduced, so that practicing shooting is much more pleasant. Some of the Magnum cartridges have lighter load cartridges which can be used to practice shooting. For example, you can shoot 38 special cartridges in a .357 Magnum revolver. The 38 special cartridges are less expensive and have less recoil and blast than the .357 Magnum, leading to a more pleasant shooting experience while practicing. Similarly, there is a .44 Special, which is a lighter load for the .44 Magnum. So the critical criterion at this point is finding a pistol which can shoot a cartridge with enough energy to stop a bear, but yet will allow shooting cartridges which will be pleasant enough to shoot when you practice target shooting, to practice for hitting that bear in the vital spot. At this point you might ask, is it worth the time and money to practice shooting your pistol until you are expert with it? You tell me, how much is your life worth to those who love you? We'd like to change gears here for a moment to talk about just a second about physics. Don't tune out, this is very important. Foot-pounds of force, whether delivered by a large slug in slow velocity or delivered by a light slug in high velocity, is still just foot-pounds of force. Foot-pounds of force is the major determining factor in bullet penetration, especially if you are using non-expanding bullets. So the major takeaway here is if you want to stop the bear, you have to have sufficient penetration to hit a vital spot. That translates into whether or not you have sufficient foot-pounds of energy. There are lots of videos on YouTube which do cartridge comparisons, and mostly they are comparing apples to oranges, and this leads to a lot of spirited, opinionated discussion which has no conclusion. My effort today is to compare cartridges on the basis of foot-pounds of energy. Once again, if you have the skill and time to hand load your cartridges, you have a lot more options. If you are depending on commercially available cartridges, you're going to have to hunt around a bit to find the ones that deliver the muzzle energy that you need. The website, Ballistics by the Inch, has calculated the bullet velocities and corresponding muzzle energy in foot-pounds. I will post the links below. As I mentioned in the introduction to this video, the bottom line is that certain semi-automatic pistols with 4-inch barrels will approximate the bullet energy of corresponding magnum revolver pistols with 4-inch barrels. So, for the highest performing commercial ammunition, both the 357 SIG semi-automatic pistol and a 357 magnum revolver with 4-inch barrels will top out at about 600 foot-pounds of bullet energy at the muzzle. For the highest performing commercial ammunition in either a 41 or 44 magnum revolver with a 4-inch barrel will top out at about 800 foot-pounds of energy. The 10mm semi-automatic pistol with a 4-inch barrel tops out at about 720 foot-pounds of energy. If you get the 10mm with a 6-inch barrel, then the energy also rises to 800 foot-pounds. Now clearly, magnum revolvers can take ammo which is hand-loaded, which can top over 1,000 foot-pounds of energy. But the point is that if a person is considering a bear defense handgun with a 4-inch barrel, they will probably do better to choose the 357 SIG or 10mm semi-automatic pistol because of the much greater number of rounds available and the comfort of reduced loads for target practice. Some semi-automatic pistols also have the option of conversion barrels where you can actually shoot two different types of ammo from the same gun by simply swapping out the barrel. This makes it so you can shoot lighter loads in the same pistol, thus reducing the ammo expense and recoil. Once again, I've posted the links below. Thanks for listening.